All right, so here it is. The oil bypass oil filter kit and the coolant filtration kit. Apparently there's like unicorns that crap all throughout the system, plugs the EGR cooler, plugs the oil cooler. And so we have the unicorn capture filter kit there, And so we're gonna be installing it on the 2006 F250 6-liter. So supposedly that's the big problem on these trucks. But look at all this crap. My gosh, it's a lot of stuff. It's probably gonna take a couple hours to do. Gotta have a toolkit, comes with steel braided lines, Wix filter, that's the coolant filter, 24070, the AMSOIL oil bypass filter, and then I'm gonna install a new engine oil filter. There's only about 2,000 miles since I changed the last filter, but I bought a bunch of them, so why not throw it in? So we'll have a new filter. Always use OEM for the oil filters and fuel filters. Don't go aftermarket, they just don't work. So I know you guys have seen this kit from hundreds of YouTubers, but again, I do this for my son, who hopefully, or even my girls who do a lot of their little mechanic stuff. They're 7 and 6 on their quads and stuff that we have in the garage over there. But I make them work on their own stuff, or at least give them a little hand and guidance. Comes with these hose clamps that kind of suck, so I ordered these on Amazon, these pinch clamps, which came with these nice pliers that pinch them and cut them. And then it came with the hose cutter, so if we got to cut the radiator lines for the coolant to get these tees installed correctly. So we got to cut a couple inches off of here and a couple inches for that one. And we'll show you guys that here in a second. But it did come with their patented blue color cap for the oil, and then the oil fill cap as well. That's for the oil bypass filter, and that's for the coolant filter. Got to have a 36 millimeter size socket that will fit this cap nicely. So that's going to be like that. And yeah, just a bunch of little tools. Got to have a 1/4-inch drill, some ratchets, some sockets, my Milwaukee battery operated power tools. Here's it's actually a heavy duty bracket. Nice bracket that connects to the alternator. So we'll be taking that off as well. But yeah, let's go make a drink, because my drink is getting empty, and let's get to the install. Okay, so here's the first coolant filter system built. So for this fitting on here on the actual hose, I used an 11/16 wrench. And then on the ball valve fitting, I used a 13/16 wrench. And then on this fitting that goes into the side, I used a 7/8 wrench to get it seated. I used the pipe thread tape on all the threads, as the instructions say to. As it got tight, I did one more full turn so that the ball valves were on top. It does get pretty tough. So, but here's the system built. So facing it, this hose is the little T, and then coming straight out the top is the big T fitting. And we'll show you guys where that goes next. So you got that. All right, let's get to the rest. All right, so next I took the 14 millimeter socket and a little bit of red thread locker, and I tightened all these 4 on. So the hose will go underneath the bracket, and then this is the piece that's going to fit onto the alternator. So that's what it looks like when she's upside down and all bolted up. Makes it a lot easier to install instead of building all this stuff on the bracket on the truck. So do it afterwards. And all we have to do now is connect the 2 hoses, connect these 2 braided lines to the oil caps, and she's done. So let's do it. All right, so the next step was to take the AN fittings and get it in the oil bypass filter. So you thread with pipe thread the piece that goes into here, but not the AN piece. So thread pipe here, clockwise, but not this piece. And then the same for the top as well. So it's pointed up and to the right. Up and to the right. It's coming together though. It's not too bad. I used an 11mm wrench to tighten it one full turn. You don't want it to go too crazy because you don't want to strip the threads, damage the threads. The pipe thread tape will help with sealing it. So let's get to the other business. Okay, so our next step for the alternator is to take a 13mm socket, bust these guys loose, take them out, and next we're gonna pop this out. My truck has 2 alternators. It's dueling alternators. So we're gonna pop this out. We're gonna break it out, which it doesn't matter because I have more. And I've drilled a hole into the bracket, which I'll show you guys here in just a second. So let's get that installed. All right, so now we're ready to run the small T-hose across the engine bay. I drilled my 1/4-inch hole right there for this clamp, which we could place in there now. And then I see a bunch of guys drain coolant. All I did was take a vice grip here, clamped it, protected the hose with some shop paper towels, got my paint pen, made the mark of the T on how much of the hose I got to cut out, so you can see how much hose I'm going to be cutting out. Made the 2 marks, and then I have a clamp here as well with vice grips. So I'll probably lose a couple ounces of fluid, which will be easy to top off with clean. I just didn't want to get under the truck and have to drain a bunch. And I'm going to do the same for the back hose as well. So I'll show you that here in just a second. All right, so I have my hose cutters that came with that clamp set. So we'll use these hose cutters to just make some nice cuts right here, and we'll see how much fluid will come out. So a nice cut, no fluid. No fluid. All right, so that's about what came out. Now we can attach this, but first we got to find the correct hose clamp. So next what I did was I measured how far that T-clamp goes into the hose, and then I made those 2 markings right where I'm going to put my pinch clamp. I don't want it up on the neck of the T-clamp because it's got an angle to it. I want a nice flat surface, so I'm going to put the clamping right onto here. And I can even run 2 clamps. So let's I'll show you the finished product for that. And I'll just do that on both sides of the hoses. All right, so there's the small T cut in with the pinch clamps, way better than the hose clamps that's supplied with the kit. And then just attached there. So overall, it's looking really clean. So next we're gonna do the oil cap, or the oil filter cap, and then the oil fill cap next. All right, so I popped the old oil filter cap, and then I had this little creamer basin that my wife fucking drinks her coffee with to stage the dirty oil filter and the cap into this. And then before you put that AN fitting on, you gotta tighten this guy. I lubricated the O-ring with some Vaseline, just very, very subtle Vaseline. And so we'll get that tightened up. I'll get the AN fitting installed with the pipe thread tape on that, and then show you guys the rest. So see how this is springy? That's perfect. That's what you want. You don't want it to be up top. You want it to be able to spring down and then just kind of feed it with your hands. Try to find those threads. These caps are really nice. Make sure that O-ring is seated in the correct position, which this one is. So now we're just getting this. And then we'll take our 36mm socket, like my nail there, smashed it. And we'll get this tightened on to like 7,000 foot-pounds of torque. No, nothing crazy. Don't wrench on it or anything. Pretty good there. And now we're gonna put the AN fitting in. All right, we got it all installed now. I got the hose, coolant hose ran all the way to the very back, which just makes it really clean. That bend isn't too crazy. I put the oil bypass filter in. You have to kind of cram it in between the battery cable. And so I'm gonna fill that up about halfway. And then I'm gonna dump the rest of the arch oil into the main oil reservoir. But you can see everything's all just really nice and installed. The oil cap, the oil filter cap, the oil fill cap is all on. Everything's buttoned up, zip tied up. Runs across. Crimp clamps. Turned out really good. So I'm gonna fill up that filter with a half oil on there, and then the rest up with arch oil inside the engine, and that'll fill up basically that whole filter as it circulates. But getting back there was kind of a biatch. I'm gonna be honest. I lost about, I don't know, 5 ounces of radiator fluid. So yeah, I'll just top that off. The degas bottle is still pretty full with it, so it'll lower a skosh, but yeah, not too bad. What do you guys think? Pretty clean install, huh? Wasn't too bad. A couple basic tools that I went over. 9/16 to tighten all those AN fittings. Yeah, not bad. I filled the oil filter up with oil. And then there's the coolant filter. I filled it up with radiator fluid. And now we're gonna give it a start and check for leaks. So stand by for hopefully a clean startup. So we're just hopefully have a good start. All right, give her the beans.